Tennessee lawmakers advance what's being touted as the nation's strongest pro-life protections. Tennessee's Senate passed a pro-life bill in a 23-5 vote last week. It's already cleared the state's House. The pro-life Tennessee bill has multiple abortion bans. It protects unborn children as soon as their heartbeat is detected, bans discriminatory abortions based on sex, race, or a prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome. It also bans abortion after 5 months of pregnancy, and it includes strong provisions protecting a woman's right to informed consent. Similar legislation has already been enacted in other states, such as Mississippi and Georgia, but has been blocked by legal challenges. Hours after it passed on Friday, an emergency lawsuit was filed to block the measure. Planned Parenthood, the American Civil Liberties Union, and the Center for Reproductive Rights are plaintiffs in the case and declared Tennessee was the first state to pass an abortion ban since the coronavirus outbreak. Tennessee State Representative Susan Lynn is a House sponsor of this legislation. She joins us now via Skype. Welcome to the show. Tell us, why did you sponsor this bill?
I'm a tremendously pro-life legislator. I've been in office for 18 years, and I've sponsored many different pro-life bills. And I want to tell you, the Tennessee General Assembly is overwhelmingly pro-life. We have a strong pro-life Speaker of the House, pro-life Speaker of the Senate, and a pro-life governor. And now is the time to pass strong pro-life legislation.
Susan, this bill bans abortion after both 6 and 20 weeks. Can you tell us more about that strategy?
Well, because we've seen heartbeat bills get tangled up in court in other states and get stricken, what we did was we created a ladder approach. So there's a series of dates for the pregnancy where if the court decides as soon as a heartbeat is heard that is too soon, what they generally decide is it's too soon, a woman might not know that she's pregnant, there's a successive order of dates where the court can reach that level where they feel comfortable. Of course, I think that abortion law belongs at the state level. I cannot wait until we do have a bill that rises to the Supreme Court and they will once again allow the states to regulate abortion.
Planned Parenthood and other pro-abortion groups filed an emergency lawsuit shortly after the bill passed the Senate. What does that indicate to you?
Well, we expected them to do that, and they are always going to do that. They've done this to us many times in Tennessee, but we have been victorious, such as with SGR 127. That was a very hard fought for constitutional amendment. We were victorious in that, and other legislation. So we hope that we will be victorious with this ladder approach to a heartbeat bill.
Do you see this as a potential case that could make its way to the Supreme Court and potentially unravel Roe v. Wade?
Oh, I definitely see that, and so does the administration. The governor's staff was very, very active in this legislation, and in fact, the whole Tennessee Health Committee was very active in this legislation, and everybody has very carefully read prior lawsuits and crafted this bill.
Looking at this legislation, there is a lot packed into this. Can you tell us about some of the other measures in this legislation and how this would protect the unborn from discriminatory abortions based on things like race, sex, or Down syndrome diagnosis?
So important. We see, unfortunately, where conscience isn't active in some folks, and they think it's okay to abort a child based on race or sex or a diagnosis like Down syndrome. And of course, that's not okay. And so this bill explicitly spells out that you cannot abort a child based on that criteria. I'm very, very proud of that and very happy. There's other things in the bill too, like we included at the last minute that, there is the abortion pill that some women are given, say, after they're raped or if they decide that they don't want to have a child. This law will mandate that a doctor has to tell a woman that pill is reversible. It's reversible. And so if she takes the first pill and she decides, oh, I don't want to go through with this, she is informed that it's reversible and she can be given another pill to stop the abortion. There's just so many things in this bill. It really is the most comprehensive bill, I think, that was passed in the country this year. And it was really a team effort on everybody's part because Tennessee has such a pro-life General Assembly.
You know, there, as you mentioned, are other heartbeat bills in other states that have been challenged in court. Do you think this one could stand a similar challenge?
It is designed to stand that challenge because of our ladder approach. So if the court decides one day is unacceptable, it falls to the next or the next or the next. And hopefully those states would stand. I hope it's when you hear a heartbeat. I think everybody realizes when you hear a heartbeat, that's an indicator of life. When there's no longer a heartbeat, that is an indicator that the life is over. So it only makes sense that we have a law that it says when there's a heartbeat, there cannot be an abortion.
You know, this bill is being called the strongest in the nation. Do you think other states are going to look at Tennessee and follow suit?
We hope so. We hope so. We hope that everybody can get on board, and we hope that this will stand. And we hope that we can return our nation to, well, states regulating abortion and also states supporting life.
That's incredible. And finally, as this, bill continues to be in the news and there will be lots of headlines and misinformation swirling around, what's your message to our viewers about this bill? What do you want them to take away from this?
I hope your viewers will hear about this bill, and I hope they will pray. I really hope they will pray that Satan's hand will stay away. And if we just pray and we go forward without fear, the devil flees. He flees from this. So let's just all pray as we go forward. We have great legal minds working on this and great legal minds who are ready, willing, and able to defend this. But we still need everybody's prayers, and we need no fear. Be brave and bold, and the devil will flee.
Wow, that is a powerful message, and thank you for your role in this major pro-life bill. Tennessee State Representative Susan Lynn, thank you. Caitlin Connors is the Southern Regional Director for the Susan B. Anthony list. She helped lobby to get this Tennessee bill passed and joins us now via Skype. Caitlin, welcome. When Tennessee's Senate passed this bill, the Susan B. Anthony list said the state enacted the nation's strongest pro-life protections. Can you put Tennessee's new law into context for us compared to other pro-life state laws?
Yeah, well, Catherine, thank you so much for having me on to talk about this really important and exciting pro-life bill in Tennessee. And I wanted to start by thanking Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee and his team for all of the incredible work they did to put this bill on his desk. It is an amazing piece of legislation. This bill asserts the state's interest in protecting the lives of unborn children, and it does that in several ways. One, by banning abortions when a heartbeat can be detected for the unborn child, when the baby can feel the pain of an abortion around 20 weeks gestational age, and when there are discriminatory abortions for the reasons of sex, gender, or potential genetic abnormality of the child. So this bill takes so many crucial pro-life issues and puts it all into one giant piece of legislation.
As you just mentioned, this bill does entail a variety of pro-life protections, from the heartbeat protections to Down syndrome diagnosis protections. Can you speak, Caitlin, why is that important?
Yes, so it's important, Catherine, for two primary reasons. One, this bill saves lives. As I mentioned, this will save the lives of babies whose heartbeat can be detected, who can suffer from pain from an abortion later in the pregnancy, for babies who would have been discriminated against. So first and foremost, this bill saves lives, and that's why it's so important. The second piece, though, is that we know the courts are going to take up this bill. I believe a lawsuit has already been filed. And while we don't know what the courts will decide and exactly what they'll deliberate on, we do know that there's so much in this bill that they can take a look at. We even know that all the way up to the Supreme Court level, Justice Clarence Thomas has issued an opinion piece specifically on the discrimination piece of this bill that we've seen in other parts of the country. And essentially, the Supreme Court may in the future be able to look at this piece of legislation and may be able to make a decision that could ultimately chip away at Roe. So it's important because it saves lives and because it gives the courts an opportunity to weigh in and hopefully begin chipping away at Roe v. Wade.
Caitlin, pro-abortion state lawmakers say they were taken by surprise by this vote. They claim they didn't think the bill would even be considered by the state Senate. Why did the state lawmakers go ahead and vote to advance this pro-life bill right now?
Well, Catherine, I couldn't speak to the pro-abortion lawmakers and what their expectations were, but what I do know is that Tennessee is a solidly pro-life state. They have a pro-life governor, a pro-life House, and a pro-life Senate. And we know that this was a priority from the governor's office to get this bill onto his desk. So I don't think it should come as too much of a surprise that the bill was taken up and passed. But what I'll also say is that when we get to the end of any legislative session, there is a lot of action that has to happen in a very tight timeline. And so I know that there's a lot that happens, and it may feel like it comes together all at the end there. But that's for any typical legislative session, not to mention one that was interrupted by a national health pandemic. So there are a lot of variables at play for this legislative session, but the bottom line is that Tennessee is solidly pro-life and they have pro-life leadership, and we're thrilled that they got this bill across the finish line.
And finally, Caitlin, can you briefly speak to Tennessee Governor Bill Lee's pro-life leadership and the role he played in this?
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank Governor Lee and his team. They put so much care and time into writing portions of this bill. If you're able to read through the bill, the findings that are in there, the way everything is worded has been done with so much care. So we thank him for his leadership on this. I also wanted to thank the pro-life Senate and the pro-life House. The House got this pushed across the finish line within those last few days. And in particular, I'd like to thank the Senate sponsor, Senator Jack Johnson, and the House sponsor, Representative William Lambert. And I believe just before me, Representative Susan Lynn was on the air. She is a caucus member of ours, and she was a co-sponsor on this bill. So I'd like to thank her for coming on to speak with you about it, and for the overwhelming pro-life leadership we have.
A lot of pro-life players were involved, it sounds like. Caitlin Connors with the Susan B. Anthony List, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.